Hey guys, welcome back for another video. We have a fun one prepared today. We just had ESPN come out with the new updated Vegas odds of who's going to be favored to win the 25-26 Super Bowl. We know that Vegas came out with these picks the night of this past Super Bowl, but they are getting updated weekly because teams are starting to make some moves, cut some players. First things first, though, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond to every single one of them. Like I said, these new Vegas odds just came out last night. We have a little bit of movement of who's going to be the favored one, but obviously leading the way, you can see the pictures here. This is taken right from ESPN. They are showing those picks there from this past Super Bowl. We have the reigning Super Bowl champs himself. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to lead the way. You definitely understand why they are the favorites. They are plus 600 odds right now to win the Super Bowl. This is an elite level team, 13-3, won the Super Bowl. They have the offense, they have the defense. They had a top 10 defense this past season. They had the number one overall defense in the NFL, only giving up 17.8 points per game during the regular season. And that front seven definitely stepped up in the playoffs, showed with the amount of pressure they were getting on Patrick Mahomes, just that front seven can lead you to a Super Bowl. And they also had a top 5 secondary in the NFL. They get after it. There's a very cohesive group, and they have Saquon Barkley, who chose to not even take a chance on setting the NFL rushing record. They can run the ball. Number one rushing team in the NFL, 186 rushing yards per game. They can throw it. Hurts, Smith, Brown, they're loaded at every single position on offense. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and they have the best offensive line. Those guys are all going to be back, so obviously you have to put them down to be the Super Bowl front runner right now. Following up is going to be the runner-ups of the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs, also plus 600 odds to win the next Super Bowl. You definitely understand, somewhat why you would put them there due to them being a veteran team, experienced team. But I personally feel that next year's Kansas City Chiefs team is not going to be as good as this season's Kansas City Chiefs team. They had 17 straight game, one possession wins. They did not necessarily dominate at any point during the regular season. They had a top 10 defense, but their offense was actually pretty average. They were about number 16 in the NFL and the number one primary third down target. The guy that you look for on those third and long situations, Travis Kelce, might not even be back on this team next season. They have some things that they need to do on the offensive line. They got to get some players there to protect Patrick Mahomes, especially on his blind side. And they need a true level wide receiver number one. If they don't have any great running back, they need a running back who can dominate on the ground, take some pressure off of Mahomes, but also someone who can catch the ball out the backfield. Worthy showed with what he did in the Super Bowl, 180 receiving yards. He can potentially be that number one guy, but he's a young guy. This past season was his rookie year. They need someone else, a veteran, big-bodied wide receiver to complement Worthy, who's that smaller speed back. But you have to keep Kansas City in your mind because obviously they've won 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, potentially going for their 4th in the last 6 seasons coming up this year. You got to keep your eye on them. You have to respect their experience. Following up after them, you have the Baltimore Ravens, plus 650. There's a team. Lamar Jackson, up to this season, back-to-back MVP caliber seasons. He had his best year in the 24-25 season. This guy lit it up, 49 overall touchdowns. He was dominating through the air, 1,000 yards rushing, about 4,200 yards passing. He was extremely efficient. Only 3 or 4 interceptions the entire season. This guy was the most electrifying quarterback in the NFL, and he has the group around him to complement him. Derrick Henry coming back. Henry just shy of 2,000 rushing yards. Yes, he's old. Yes, he's been in the NFL for a while, over 10,000 career rushing yards. But last season, I would say it was probably his best season. He finally had a quarterback, someone who could take some pressure off of him. He still has it, that big-bodied running back. He can continue to get those grinding yards. You have to respect them. One of the best rushing attacks, if not the best rushing attack in the NFL. It's them or the Eagles. Pick one. But they also have the weapons at tight end. Andrews, Likely. They have Flowers. They have so many weapons at wide receiver. If they add another wide receiver, this team is even going to take it to the next level. Where they faltered this past season, yes, they had the number one rush defense in the NFL, but they had the third to last secondary in the NFL. They gave up about 250 to 260 pass yards per game, but they did play better second half, particularly as we were getting closer to the playoffs. That's when that secondary really stepped up. But their defensive line, their front seven is so good they can challenge anyone in the country. The big thing is, do you even have time to throw on the Ravens? If that defense gets a little better, that might just be enough push to get them over that hump for them to finally make the Super Bowl. Coming in as number 4, we have the Buffalo Bills plus 700. Obviously, Josh Allen got the MVP this past season, his most efficient season of his career. He's a gunslinger at heart, but he was very efficient this season, kept the turnovers down, played smart, took whatever the defense gave them, and then just a little bit more. And the big thing that really helped the Bills, took a lot of pressure off of Josh Allen, was the emergence of Cook at the running back position. This guy might not have lit it up yards-wise. He had about 1,100 rushing yards, but he led the NFL in rushing touchdowns, which that's really what you need. At that goal line of scrimmage, you need someone who can get that 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. They had Cook 16 rushing touchdowns, led the NFL. They have a pretty good wide receiver core, but they have no true wide receiver number 1. Cooper is on the older side right now since they got rid of Diggs. If they get a true number 1 wide receiver, this is going to be a really hard team to beat. We know they can light it up during the regular season. The hurdle that's been stopping them, the roadblock, has continuously been the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I said earlier, if the Chiefs aren't as good as they were last season, we know that game always goes down to the final possession, down to the final drive, the very final moment someone snaps the ball. This might be the Bills' chance to finally get past the Chiefs, but they've been good for a while. It's just the Chiefs that have been stopping them from finally making it back to the Super Bowl. It's been a really long time since they've been there. Coming in at number 5, a team that seemed like it was destined for them to at least make the Super Bowl. The last 2 seasons, this team was so depleted on the defensive side. Hutchinson lost so many of their defensive starters, but they had the number 1 offense in the NFL, 32.4 points per game. Goff, great season. He had some games where he was pretty questionable. That performance in the playoffs, not his best, but nonetheless, the best offense in the NFL. Weapons up and down the team. They have weapons at every single position, especially one of the best, if not the best, 1-2 running back punch. Gibbs, Montgomery. They could cycle those guys through, keep the bodies fresh. St. Brown, as good of a wide receiver as there is in the NFL. Goff, just continue to do what you've been doing, and you know that you have those defensive starters coming back for the 25-26 season. Maybe this is the chance for them to take that step forward. Next, we have the San Francisco 49ers, 13-1. This is kind of a tough one here, looking at the 49ers. This past season, on paper, the best top-to-bottom roster in the NFL when they're healthy. The big issue was they were not healthy the entire season. Every position banged up. Their defense was completely just tarnished, depleted at every position. So many starters out on their offensive side. Ayuk, Debo, McCaffrey, Mason, Jennings, everybody was banged up. They were not able to field a complete team, but they're not even going to have that team next year. Obviously, they are getting rid of some players starting to make moves. They have cap issues. They also have the issue going on with Purdy right now. We don't even know what their roster is going to look like the 25-26 season. We know they're going to be good. We know they're going to be better than the 24-25 team. I don't know if I'd put them up that high right now, just due to the question marks we have. I need more info of what the starting roster is going to look like. Coming in next, the Cincinnati Bengals, 16-1 odds. You have to respect Joe Burrow. The best quarterback season in the NFL this season, but he's not going to get full props because they were at 8-9. The worst defense. That defense was awful. He had to score 35, 40 points every single game just to win because the defense would give up a score every single possession. Put a lot of pressure off of him. They have some cap issues. Higgins, Chase, they need to make sure that they keep their nucleus together, their true core wide receivers in play, and Joe Burrow can get you back to the Super Bowl. He can get you a Super Bowl victory. He has played well in the playoffs throughout his career, but they have to get that defense back on track, or they're just going to be another 500 team at best. After that, the Washington Commanders. I personally don't see why this team is so far down on the list. They obviously just made that trade with the 49ers last night. This is a really good team. You have the offensive rookie of the year. You have Jaden Daniels. This guy's lighting it up, throwing the ball 3,500 yards, running the ball over 1,000 yards. One of the best rookie seasons we've seen in NFL history. He's going to get better. Brian Robinson Jr., they have weapons. They have Scary Terry. If they start adding more depth at that wide receiver position, tight end, they make this offense even better. And as long as they add some pieces to the defense, This is a team that was potentially competing to make the Super Bowl this year. First year coach with this team, first year rookie quarterback, and they almost made the Super Bowl. And they've dropped them so far down the list. Doesn't really make sense to me. There's a little hating going on right there. To me, they should probably be in that 4 or 5 spot. Show them some respect. They had a great season, guys. Then after that, we have the Green Bay Packers, 18-1 odds. Packers, great team. Love, good season. Good defense, good rush defense, good offense. I want to see them add a true wide receiver, number 1, to complement Reed. You have Love. You have a great running game. It's just we need more skills at the wide receiver position. Love, he can have some great games. He can have some pretty questionable games. As long as he continues to mature, this is definitely a team that you have to take seriously. After that, we have the Rams. We don't even know what their starting team's going to look like. They have potentially a lot of players on the trade block right now. They're trying to build some picks, trying to build their future. And then you have the Chargers all the way down there, Texans all the way down there, Vikings, obviously great team this season, but also a lot of issues at the quarterback position and who's going to be the starting quarterback next season. Then you have Tampa Bay, one of the better offenses. A lot of really good teams here, but that's kind of the way that Vegas is picking the odds right now. You have the Eagles up there. To me, Chiefs are a little too high as of right now because we don't know what's going to be coming back next season. But they're the runner-ups. They're a team that's won a lot of Super Bowls in recent history, so you got to give them respect. You have to leave them there. And I have no issue with those next couple teams, the Ravens, the Bills, the Lions. Those should be the favorites. But I'd follow that up with probably the Washington Commanders as that next caliber team. But guys, that's just a quick breakdown, a quick run-through of some of the Vegas favorites as of right now. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.